I'm ready.
Leave it to me. Toss! No way.
Hello indie game and JRPG fans, welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name's Old Gamer Joe. Today we have some quick gameplay impressions of Astria Ascending. This is based on the first 2.5-3 hours of gameplay, so you won't have to worry about too many deep spoilers here. There's two things that I noticed when I started the gameplay for Astria Ascending. The first being that this art style is really something else. You don't see this too often in games. It looks really great still, but in motion it kind of has a weird effect, and I'm not really a fan of the way all of the different characters animate in this title. It's just kind of not meshing well together for me with the backgrounds. Before I get too deep into the graphical look of this game though, the game takes place in the world of Harmonia. There is quite the assortment of different races in this world. You have the Migmies, which are cute little flying creatures that deliver Harmelon all over the world. They have little jester hats that I thought were amusing. You have big brooding lizards, which are known as Zephs. They kind of act as bodyguards. And then you have some flying creatures known as Awases, which mostly dwell in the woods. There are even more types of characters throughout the game, so that's one thing I do have to say about Astria Ascending. It does a good job of mixing up the different types of characters that inhabit this rather large world. One thing I didn't like about this game is that it is a little bit of information overload to start out. You have demigods who protect this city, you have so many different types of characters, it all gets a bit mixed up, and then you're just dropped into a room to begin the game with about 8 or so of your party members, and the way they're introduced isn't really that effective either. You simply click on them and then you have a title card that pops up that will tell you a little bit more about those characters. So very little dialogue to start the game out between the party members, and immediately I felt like there was no real connection that brought these characters together. Also, I don't know how to say this, but almost every character seems to walk with this weird strut like a chicken, as if they got something in their britches. At any rate, your lead character is going to be Ulan, who is the leader of the demigods. She is also the captain of this team. She has the ability to cure, and she can also taunt her opponents. We'll get into the turn-based battles in just a moment here. Eventually, you are set off on your own, and I do have to say this, the game does a pretty decent job of telling you where you need to go next. At least at the beginning of the game, you can click in the right stick, and that will give you a good idea of what direction you should be heading. And you do have an elevator in this world that connects everything. So then, eventually, introduced to the turn-based combat system, which felt pretty familiar at first. You have your standard attack, each character has their own unique set of abilities, that kind of thing, and you take turns pounding away at a group of enemies. The thing that does set this battle system apart from other JRPGs of the past a little bit is the focus points system. These focus points are shared amongst your party. You begin with one, but however, you can gain more of these points by using a command called Focus Command. You'll also gain more of these focus points by exploiting certain weaknesses on certain enemies like fire or ice. By assigning a certain number of focus points, you will deal out more damage is my basic understanding of this system, but it honestly didn't really gel with me, at least so far. When you're just going about exploring your basic dungeons, you're going to find that there's a bit of platforming from time to time. It doesn't really feel exceptional, but thus far it hasn't needed to either, and some of these dungeons also feature puzzles. They are pretty basic as well so far and easy enough to solve, but again, I'm only about 3 hours in. Of course, there's a skill tree where you can learn new abilities, you will purchase new items at stores that you can equip to your character, as well as find them in treasure chests scattered across the world. Your typical JRPG systems are here. And of course, what JRPG doesn't have a game within a game? You have J-Stir here, which is all about flipping tokens and using your own tokens against other characters. Didn't really explore it too much, but some of you might get into it. Okay, now back to the visuals. So there is a nice look to this game. The hand-painted visuals are quite stunning, especially at higher resolutions, but there's something just about the way it comes together with the movement that's, I don't know, it just feels weird. I think it's those bizarre animations and the overall clashing of the characters and the backdrops that's just not doing it for me. I feel like part of me should really like this art, and yet I don't like the way it all comes together. To be fair though, there are some really incredible looking designs in the game. Some of the characters when they're not moving look really great. Some of the enemy designs are quite interesting. Some of the spell effects are nice. But yeah, there's just something off about it that I can't quite put my finger on. However, the soundtrack here is pretty stirring. I've enjoyed the tracks that I've come across. Typical JRPG fashion with some orchestrated pieces that accompany you. Some great battle anthems as well. There is some voice acting for these characters, but unfortunately it's not very good. It doesn't help to bring these characters to life whatsoever, at least on the English setting, so be aware of that. You're not getting great performances out of these actors and actresses. So yeah, as a huge JRPG fan, I'm 3 hours into this thing, and I'm gonna play more of it, but it's just not clicking with me yet. I want to hear what you think in the comments below. Are you playing Astria Ascending? Are you enjoying this title? Let's hear about your experience, but that's all from Old Gamer Joe for now. We'll see you next time on I Dream of Indie.
Ancient temples always are.
Let's fight!
No way.
Thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to thank our great indie warriors who support us through channel memberships. Mitchell Hall, Bunny, Kevilo, Bill Tikaz, Christian Cruz, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, C Coil, Skeptism, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Julian Kolbus, and JRS the 8th. Thank you so much for all you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else, please head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.